Hey, what's going on, everyone? Jasper Nation, AI Author Underground. How's it going? Darby here, as always, with Zachariah, my partner Stratford.
What's up?
Today, we are with Brian Burney, an Amazon ads expert. He's been in the game for a long time, much longer than I've been in the publishing game since we started working with Jasper just over a year ago. And we connected a few weeks ago on a call with our mastermind to kind of share like really what's under the hood of Amazon ads. And how does that look when you're A, launching your book initially, but also B, how do you sustain those sales and how are ads kind of part of your overall marketing, book marketing strategy to get more sales and grow your brand and business. So super excited to bring you today this masterclass with Brian. And Brian, I'll just let you kind of like share a little bit more about yourself.
Let's see. For those on, let us know where you're coming from too. Say hello in the chat, and would love to see who's on with us today. Say hi before we dive in too.
Yeah, give people a second to kind of tune in here. I know just since
excited, so we just want to dive right into it. So
I mean,
I'm excited. Someone from Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, we're all over the world here in Jasper Nation. So nice. Welcome everybody that is tuning with us live. Let us know where you're coming from. And who here is actually like, this is a good starter off here. Who here is like launching a book sometime in the next like month or two, right? You got a book launch coming up in this next quarter. Like who here's in that stage now, and who here's already selling their books on Amazon and already kind of using Amazon ads? I'm just kind of curious where everyone is at in this process now, because we're going to cover a lot today. And I think it's going to apply kind of across the board.
All right, we got someone
books coming up here.
Yeah. Who is writing their book right now in the process, or thinking about launching on
already
Amazon?
In New York City? Cool. Yeah. So it looks like we got writing in the process as well as already marketing. That's great. As you guys kind of have questions come up here, make sure you're dropping them in the chat so we can get to them. We'll probably have some time at the end of here, Brian, for maybe some Q&A. Questions are coming up.
Already ready to write your next. Let's go.
Awesome.
That's great. Awesome.
Cool, guys. Well, awesome. So glad to have you here. And Brian, I want to just kind of maybe give us the 411 on who you are, what you do, and what we're going to be getting into here.
Well, hi, everyone, and thanks for having me here, first of all. My name is Brian Burney, and I've got a slide giving you a bit of introduction on who I am. But the bottom line is I run an ads agency for authors. I have been doing for a while now, and basically since Amazon opened the platform for KDP authors. So been going for a few years now, worked with hundreds of authors at this point, both in fiction and nonfiction. And yeah, that's my main specialty is Amazon ads. We do offer other types of advertising as well, but I've always loved Amazon ads, and I enjoy geeking out on them. So yeah, that's my specialty. Nice. And I'm really glad to be here because I found Jasper back I think 4 or 5 months ago, and it was recommended to me by a good friend, and I was blown away, and I immediately saw there was a community of authors writing books with Jasper, and now I just wanted to be involved. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, you absolutely blew our minds last night in when you came on to coach our small masterclass on the Amazon ads. So we're like, we got to bring this to the public or the people that are inside of our cookbook. So I'm super excited to do that here today.
Sure.
So I'll let you kind of take it away.
Okay. So if I can, okay, that's perfect. Yeah. So and again, I don't see the chat, so please let me know if there are any questions, or if you want to tackle them at the end, just let me know. I've got a few slides here. Basically, what I'm going to talk about today are the fundamentals of book marketing on Amazon these days, which is the launch on the one hand and the ads. We're going to give a bit more space to the ads, but the launch is really, really important. So we are going to talk about that a little bit as well, because it's essential. So just a little bit about me. Like I said, I began in academia. I wanted to be an academic, and I was specialized in basically ancient books and manuscripts. I used to work at the Vatican until 2015. I used to work in the archives, so I've been around books all my life, really. I've always loved any type of books. And on the one hand, I am a bit of a history nerd, and on the other hand, I love technology and whatever is in the future. So I'm a bit of a contradiction, but I love it. So I started Book Ads, which is my agency, in 2017, bookads.co. To this day, we've managed over $1 million in ad spend and worked with over 400 authors. I haven't updated the count recently, but this is like until the end of 2021. So we have worked with a lot of authors. We've, like I said, had fiction and non-fiction authors working with us, and we do these three types of advertising: Amazon, Facebook, and BookBub. If you're not familiar with BookBub, it's a little bit like a smaller Amazon that is very effective in terms of book marketing. But of course, we are going to focus on Amazon today. And why Amazon? So I'm sure you've heard in lots of places that Amazon is too crowded. There's too much competition. Some people don't recommend it anymore. They say, what we hear all the time, like email marketing is dead, SEO is dead, Amazon book marketing is dead. Not really, because there is a debate on exclusive versus wide. Exclusive means you are only on Amazon and your book cannot be anywhere else. Whereas wide means you can advertise your book on Amazon, but also on Apple Books, on Google Play Books, on your own website. So what is the best choice is one of the questions lots of people ask me. Well, there are pros and cons to KDP Select, which is the Amazon exclusive platform. In my opinion, I would focus 100% on Amazon if you're just starting out. And that is because it is, I'm sure the largest book retailer in the world and the largest self-publishing platform. This research is very recent. Close to 1,500 ebooks are published on Amazon every single day. So we will see that is a good thing and a bad thing. But, when we're talking about what platform should I choose, this is the number one choice if you're starting out, because it already has an audience built in. Whereas the other platforms, yes, they do have an audience, and some of them are very, very, dedicated to like Kobo or Apple Books, but it doesn't even come close to Amazon. So, like I said, the problem is competition. With all these ebooks coming out each and every day, how do we stand out? Well, it's not easy. So the usual talk you hear about Amazon advertising being more difficult is partially true, but it's not impossible, and loads of authors are doing this successfully. So there are basically two elements. So one is the fundamentals, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. And then there are two levers that you absolutely need to have in place. The fundamentals are the cover, the blurb, the reviews, and sometimes the price. And the levers are launch and ongoing marketing. Now, I'm sure you've heard that your cover needs to be professionally done. You need to have a professional blurb and reviews, and we will talk about this in just a bit. But sometimes lots of people underestimate the importance of this, and this is actually what makes your marketing work. What makes it effective is having these fundamentals in place, because we are at a point now where indie publishers, self-publishers, are expected to have professional products, more or less like traditionally published books. So the readers these days don't mind if a book is self-published, but the book needs to be professionally made. So great cover and all the rest we're going to talk about. And this helps because Amazon has I don't know how many millions of data points they analyze every single day, and in each session that you do on Amazon site, and they know when something is selling. They know what the reader is clicking on. They know where the reader is actually moving his mouse towards, like the heat maps that we sometimes see on websites. Amazon does have that information, so I am sure they know whereas your cover is good and your blurb is good and you have enough reviews. So let's talk about the fundamentals. So the cover, like I said, professional level is expected these days. Back in 2012, you could just put together something with word processor or something very, like, I think it was Microsoft Paint, some authors. But these days, it's absolutely critical that you really don't stand out as being not a pro, if you see what I mean. So you need to have a professionally done cover. My recommendation at this point is outsource this if you can. Do outsource it, but also outsource it to someone who is an expert not only in graphic design but also specifically in cover design. If you want to be super specific, somebody who specializes in covers in your niche or genre. Not difficult to find these days because there are lots of cover designers out there.
Any recommendations
the aim
on
of
services? Recommendations?
Yes, of course. My number one recommendation is a place called 100 Covers. They are super affordable and very good. But another recommendation is when you look inside a book on Amazon, in the Look Inside feature, a lot of indie authors will credit their cover designer. So if you find something that you really like, by all means, have a look and contact them. And also, if you don't find the name of the designer, you can contact the author, I don't know, via the website or social media, because the indie author community is usually very supportive. So I'd be surprised if they didn't tell you. So again, professional cover.
We've used 99 Designs with a lot of success. So that's another one. I haven't heard of 100. I've heard of 100 book covers. We haven't used them, but just to get professional covers done is great.
Yes, definitely, and by someone who knows the ins and outs of designing a book cover.
Yeah.
And that's because readers, or we only have a fraction of a second to capture the reader's attention. So what we're really looking for is something that is the same as the other books in your market, but slightly different. And this is where a pro knows what to do. So we are looking to stand out a little bit, but we need the reader to know immediately that that our book is basically the same as the Facebook ads books that are out there, but different, if you see what I mean. So they need to feel at home looking at your cover, but you also need to capture their attention. So again, my recommendation, as in everything, is doing your research. As I said, you can simply look at the covers on Amazon and see what's working for others. The other good thing is that because we are indie authors, we can actually test all of these things pretty much, instantly. Whereas with a traditional publisher, it's simply impossible to change a cover unless it's a new edition, and it won't happen earlier than 2 years probably. But we as indie authors have this possibility. So if we find that our cover doesn't resonate, we can upload a new one and it will be live in maximum 72 hours. So that's one of the beauties of being an indie author.
Right. And we're constantly testing, guys. We're constantly testing our cover designs and sending them out. It's a great way to engage your audience. And we're always coming up with new cover ideas or just getting feedback on what we're creating. So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a very, very good good point, because it's also a way of engaging with your readers, asking them for an opinion, doing a feel, making them feel like they are actually part of the project is very, very good. The second fundamental is the blurb, and the blurb is basically the description of your book on Amazon. And this is something that I find very useful, is thinking of the reader and the reader journey. So what happens when they land on Amazon and they are looking for a new book? This is really the second stage in the reader's journey, because they've seen your cover in search or on another book's page. And so they click, and the next thing they're gonna do is probably read a few lines in the blurb. This is critical because, again, we only have fractions of seconds to impress the reader. In this case, in this case, I would recommend outsourcing again, but I've actually tried, and I didn't tell you this, but I've tried using Jasper for this, and it does a pretty good job. But again, it's something that needs to be tested, and something that is very hard to get right on the first try. And also because you are so invested in the book and you really want to maybe describe what is in the book, that's not the point of the blurb. The point of the blurb is not summarizing the contents of the book. It's really copywriting. It's selling the book. It's like a small sales letter for the book. And this goes a long way also in terms of formatting. I'm sure some blurbs on Amazon are like a wall of text, and others have a bit of better kind of visual layout with bolded words, with star ratings and stuff like that. That makes a difference, because again, it makes you look more professional, and it's extremely easy to do this these days. There are online like formatting converters where you basically write your blurb and you format it as you want, and it spits out the HTML that you can add to Amazon. So,
and all of our cookbook members, I believe we have a blurb recipe that's live too.
Exactly.
So,
any of those formatting tools that you find you use most often or easiest to use? I've seen them before, but just curious what your experience is with those specifically.
Yes, the one I always use is from the guys at Kindlepreneur. So it's Kindlepreneur. If you do a search on Google, formatting, blurb formatting or something like that, there are a few out there, but that one is really good. If you found it, I don't know if you found it. I can look for it as well.
They have a book. I'm looking at their book formatting section on their site.
No, it's book description generator, I think it's called.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah, it's really, and I think it was recently revamped a little bit. So all you do is write the blurb in there, and then you format it as you would in a normal document, but it spits out the HTML that you can use on Amazon. So yeah, importance of formatting. And the third fundamental is undoubtedly reviews. So I am sure, because I do this, that once you find a book, you will look at the reviews. And of course, do you read them? Yes, you do, because they are very, very important. You want to know what other people thought about that book. So these are one of the few things that we know are critical in terms of the algorithm. meaning that we are sure, meaning that Amazon has confirmed that these are like ranking factors, if you will, a bit like Google. The reviews are actually 100% critical for how the algorithm works. This, I want to stress, this is one of the hardest things to do, getting reviews, even for authors that are very established, because fundamentally, people are lazy, basically. So even if you ask them for a review and they say yes and they commit, when it's time to leave a review, they might, again, be lazy, or something might have happened and they don't have time. So it is difficult for everyone. So the question here is usually, is there a minimum number of reviews that we should aim for? I'd like to say 50 to 100, but it's extremely hard. In terms of advertising and in terms of book marketing, I have found that 10, 15 is okay to start with. Of course, it's not something that you should leave there, untouched. It's something that you should always work towards, building that number of reviews, because it's obviously, like I said, it helps the algorithm, but also some of the pickier readers are going to see how recent those reviews are, and if your last review is from 2 years ago, that's not going to be a good sign. Another question I get often is on Amazon: does it matter if they are verified or unverified? So I don't know if you know this, but briefly, if somebody actually buys the book and they leave a review, the review is going to have a little tag that says verified, because you can actually leave a review for a book that you haven't bought, which is a bit funny on the one hand, but it's also understandable because the author might have given you a copy as a gift. So you can do it, but they won't show up as verified. From what we have found, sorry.
We had a question, just advise on how to get reviews, or the easiest way to do it.
Yes, it's like I said, it's very, very hard. The one way of getting them when you're starting out, unfortunately, is to giving your book away for free. It's not a very popular strategy, because obviously you've spent so much writing the book, and it's something you want to be compensated for. But this is the best way. If you give out as many free copies as possible and you ask for a review, you will get some. I will stress, and that was my next point, that we are talking about the 100 to 1 rule, which means for every 100 readers you might expect 1 review, which is very, very a bit gloomy and and depressing. But if you do things right, and you just need to keep asking, and don't be afraid of asking, because this is how it works. There are a few more advanced tactics, like asking for the review at the beginning of the book, at the end of the book, sending them the actual link where they just need to click on that link and they will already be in the page ready to leave a review. So removing any type of friction. There are a few tactics, but to this day, the only way is asking. I strongly recommend you don't use like services on Fiverr or stuff like that, because they will probably be against Amazon terms and conditions. And that's something you do not want to go against, because if they cancel your account, that's big trouble. Another thing you need to be careful in terms of reviews is you cannot pay for reviews, or you cannot solicit reviews in any way. I cannot say, I will give you a free book if you leave me a review. You can say something similar, but you can't solicit the review so openly, because that's against Amazon. And also, you need to be careful with your friends and family. One of my mistakes when I started out, first book, I immediately went to my mom and I said, can you leave a review? She did, but it lasted on Amazon for 24 hours because they don't want reviews from friends and family. They will pull them because they think they're all biased, and they probably are. So
Let's be real. Mom.
yeah, that's probably going to happen. So okay, so last point is that they are essential for ads, and we will see why in just a bit. So these are the fundamentals that you absolutely need to have in place. When you have these in place, comes the launch, which is the first big appointment for your book. So why do we launch a book? First of all, there is a difference between uploading the book and launching a book. When you upload a book, you just upload it to Amazon and nobody knows. When you launch a book, you tell as many people as possible, and you're basically telling everyone that your book is now live and you are driving traffic to the book on Amazon. For Amazon specifically, there are some advantages. The first one is that Amazon loves new books, so they will give you a bit of a push, a head start, if your book is, if you do the launch within 30 days of it being uploaded. There is it's not confirmed, but it is pretty much well known now that the first 30 days are the best days for your book. So that's ideally when you should do the launch, because Amazon is paying a lot of attention to your book, and it will favor it because it's new. After 60 days, that attention decreases a little bit. After 90 days, you're basically back to square one. So I encourage you, if you can, to do the launch within the 30 days. The launch gives you a head start when it comes to long-term success, because your aim is to establish the book inside the categories, inside the lists of best-selling books in that specific genre. So it is critical. Now, if you look for how to launch a book on Google, you will find a million different tactics, a million different strategies, various types of launches, courses, and all of that. But the underlying principle is that all of these tactics and strategies go back to one goal. You need to send loads of traffic to the book in a short period of time. That is essentially all that launch is about. Usually, this is done by discounting the book, because you want people to be interested in downloading and give them an incentive to download, and maximizing the exposure of the book. And that is done in various ways. Usually, this topic could be a session of its own, but it's usually done by sending traffic through promo sites. These are sites that promote books in specific genres. So that's one way of doing it, and also other types of paid traffic. But the thing I'd like you to take home is that the launch is essentially loads of traffic in a short period of time. The goal of the launch shouldn't really be profit, especially if you're just starting out, because it probably won't be profitable. You probably won't have a positive ROI if you factor in what you've spent for the cover, for the editing, and all the rest. You will probably break even, but sometimes you will lose a bit of money. The goal of a launch is building your list, and the holy grail of launching is what we call tickling the algorithm. So Amazon in these 30 days is already paying a lot of attention to your book. What you want to do is show it that it's selling consistently, and that it's converting. So for Amazon's algorithm, that is the best scenario. And that results in Amazon, like I said, the holy grail of book marketing, which is Amazon promoting the book for you without you having to do anything. And that's usually done through Amazon's email list. An email with your book from Amazon is worth 1,000 launches. And sometimes they do this and you don't know, and you see a huge spike because they are basically suggesting your book to readers that like your genre. So what we're trying to do with the launch is making the algorithm notice. However, how things are these days, it's generally better to have, like I said before, there are a few days that you will use for the launch. We call it a launch window, like 5 or 7 days. Generally, it's best to have a upward trend. So it's best to have, I don't know, sell 20 copies on Monday, 40 on Tuesday, 60, to simplify things a little bit. But it's best to end with a bang, if you see what I mean, because Amazon likes these incremental increases of sales in a short period of time. It's not very good to have 100 sales today and nothing tomorrow, and then 200 after 4 days. Amazon doesn't like that because it's not consistent. So the way things are these days, and again, it might change, but it is best to have an upward trend. So this, like I said, is tickling the algorithm. So it is really triggering what some people call the recommendation engine. So when Amazon recommends the book for you, and in general, improving the ranking of the book overall, because if you can get to a decent rank, then it will probably stay there at least a little bit, because what you want to avoid is the big drop. So if we're sending incremental traffic in those 5 to 7 days, what happens when we stop sending traffic? The book drops back to square one. So we are, it's like the launch never happened. But if we are savvy book marketers, now is the time to start the ads, because as we will see in just a bit, a critical component of the ads is that the algorithm favors the ads for a book that is converting. And at the peak of your launch, you are converting at the best that, in your recent history, in your recent books history. So that now is the time to start the ads. A lot of people make mistakes and they start, they upload the book, they launch it, for 2 days, and then they start the ads and crickets. And that's, obviously there are lots of factors to analyze, but usually it's because Amazon doesn't trust the book. It sees it sold for 2 days and now it's stopped selling for 3 days. And so it will be harder for you to run ads on in that situation. Okay, and this is what we call ongoing marketing. And ongoing marketing these days is done in a few ways. The first thing is pretty obvious, which is just keep marketing your book. Never forget to mention it in your newsletter. Never forget to mention it at live events. Basically just keep on talking about it so that you have a consistent number of sales. However, we need to sustain that with Amazon ads, which, again, to this day are the number one way of sustaining sales and increasing visibility. And this takes us to the Amazon ads section. So as you know, Amazon ads has a PPC platform. I'm sure you've been bombarded by Amazon ads selling you t-shirts or selling you all kinds of weird things. And the general PPC platform has been around for, very long time. However, it was only open to KDP authors, fairly recently in the history of Amazon, which means 4 or 5 years ago. And that's because the KDP platform and the, books are a unique product to sell on Amazon. We do have a few challenges for Amazon as authors, because our metrics don't really apply to other products. So they couldn't just take their PPC platform and have us sell books instead of mugs. It's very different. One thing that is immediately noticeable is that if we are exclusive to Amazon, we do have page reads. So we are paid on each page someone reads. And that was very difficult to implement for Amazon in terms of advertising. But they are constantly improving the platform. They do believe in it a lot, which is a good thing. It used to be a plus in the past, so something that you could do to just, sell a few more books here and there. Now it's practically a must. It's very, very hard to sustain sales without advertising. And that's mostly because there's too much competition, like I said in the beginning. So organic visibility is extremely hard, as I'm sure you know from Facebook and all the other platforms when they start. Like Pinterest, I think, is the same. It's all organic when they start, but once they start introducing ads, you have to use ads basically to get noticed. So let's see how they work. If you have any questions in the meantime. No, I don't think so.
Not seen any questions come up, but you said that there's Amazon can pay by page reads as well. Do you recommend that for a first-time author?
Yes. Okay. I recommend being exclusive to Amazon as for a first-time author 100%. You can pull out after 90 days, so it's not a lifetime commitment. And when you pull out, you can do whatever you want with your books. But in those 90 days, you need to be exclusive. I recommend it because there are a few perks that Amazon gives, and one of them is page reads. So each time somebody, so there's, I don't know if you know, but there's basically a subscription service on Amazon, a bit like Netflix, that's called Kindle Unlimited. And with that, people can download as many books as they want. I think it's up to 10 a month. And then it's like a library. After a certain amount of time, they lend them and then they disappear from their Kindles. But back when this was introduced, authors complained because they said, okay, these people are reading my book, but I'm not getting paid. So Amazon came up with this idea, which is each time somebody reads a page and flips over on Kindle, you get paid a small amount. This amount varies each month because what they do, it's a bit complicated, but they have a fund for this platform. And depending on how big the fund is for that month, it's usually $4 or $5 million. It gets divided by every single page in the Amazon catalog, and you get the cost for the reader or the amount that you get paid for each page. It's usually around 0.04, so 4 cents per page. So that's an added bonus that you wouldn't have if you were not exclusive to Amazon. And also, and this is not confirmed, but we're pretty sure that they do give you a bit of an advantage if you are exclusive.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The basic principle of ads. Basically, you need to show your book to readers that are browsing for similar books. It's less intrusive as Facebook because on Facebook, and that's why I don't really like Facebook ads for books. On Facebook, we are scrolling and we are looking at a ton of things. And, this author is interrupting my scrolling, suggesting a book, and I might not be in the mood for reading a book. And it's not, it's not the ideal scenario, in my opinion. Whereas on Amazon, it is very, very likely, well, it's practically certain that somebody is looking for a book. So if you can be in the right place at the right time, then that is the best type of targeting that you can get. So you get on similar books on specific book pages, like the one we talked about before, where the description is an actual page that is selling a book. You want to be on that book as an ad, advertising your book. You can be in search results. So when somebody types in a search on Amazon, you can show up as a non-organic listing, so a sponsored listing. And in a couple of other places that are a little bit less effective and more expensive. But what you really need to focus on are the other book pages. and the search results. This is an example of what it looks like in the other books. If you scroll down, if you look at the book and you scroll down, you will see a carousel, the customers who bought this item. This is known as the also boughts, and this is organic. So people who looked at this book also looked at these other books. You can't really game this. You can't really get into that. What you can do is get into this carousel, as they say, which is the sponsored products. These that you see here are all ads for books. Okay, so if your book is relevant to the book that we're seeing here, then this is the place where you want to be. And ideally, you want to be in number 1 on the carousel, because I'm sure you've seen this, and you probably don't scroll the 3rd or 4th or 5th page of these. You just look at the first 2. It's a bit like the Google search results. So ideally, you want to be in the number 1 spot. This is what it looks like in the search results. So somebody might be looking for cozy mysteries. This is a fiction example, but these are all sponsored results up here, and these are sponsored as well. So you can see basically the whole results above the fold are all sponsored these days. So there are instances where somebody writes your actual name and title of a book, and something else comes up first, and it's an ad. So your book doesn't show first, an ad shows instead of your book, and this is another problem that we can go deeper. But just to say that sponsored and ads are pretty much everywhere these days on Amazon. So in terms of targeting, how do you target these ads? How do you tell Amazon where to show your ad? So there are various types, and the targeting in general is getting better, but is not nearly as granular as Facebook ads. I'm sure on Facebook you can target by the device people are using, and that kind of thing. You can't do that on Amazon yet. The main types of targeting are keywords, as in pretty much every ad platform. There are various kinds of keywords. For example, book titles, names of authors, descriptive keywords like business books about hiring, something like that. So these are keywords. Categories, you can tell Amazon to show your book in specific categories.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was just agreeing.
Okay, so specific ASIN numbers, which is basically showing the book in this position, like we saw before. So on a specific competitor book, or ISBNs, same thing. Or automatic targeting, where it's a type of ads that basically leaves Amazon do their job. Hopefully, you leave the targeting to them, and hope they do a good job. So I did show you a few ads before, but this is generally what an ad looks like. So what you can see is there are very, very few elements. It's not very elaborate by any means. And this is all automatically done by Amazon. So you don't really have any power in terms of the creative or in terms of graphics, because what they do is they pull the cover and they shrink it down to thumbnail size. They put the title, the author, this little blurb, they call it, a few lines of copy, 150 characters maximum. You can use it or you cannot. I mean, there are ads that work without it. I recommend you try both, but you actually have to write this little section here. Then you see the reviews, and you can see how important the reviews are here. In the specific case of this book, we have full 5 stars and 27 reviews. Now, as a reader, I'm pretty happy with that. Even though they haven't got 100 reviews, that's really good. All 5 stars and more than 2 or 3 reviews. So you can see how important they are. And then you see the Kindle edition and the price. But these things, like I said, are going back to the fundamentals. They need to be on point. So you need to have a good cover. You need to have a good mini blurb when you use it. And again, you need to have great reviews. So how do you win the placement? How do you get to this level or to this level, number 1 on the carousel? This is, like I said, there's a lot of competition, and this is a pay-per-click platform. So you only pay when someone pays, when someone clicks on your ad. And just a little background information on how this works, because it's very, very interesting. So it is a real-time auction. So let's say that you are targeting the keyword time management books. Now, author A, who is you, let's say, is bidding 56 cents for this keyword. Author B is bidding 62 cents. Now, the reader clicks on your book, and the winning bid is author B wins the bid, but they don't win at 62, they win at 57, which is only 1 cent below the second highest, if you see what I mean. So this 57 is what you will get charged. All of this is to say that it's not easy, because you really don't know how much you should bid when you're starting out, but it is possible, because you can test, you can see things in real time. If I'm bidding for a specific keyword for that carousel and my book is not showing, I am pretty sure that I'm not bidding high enough. So if I bid higher and I keep on checking that and I see that my book shows up, then I know I'm doing a good job. So you can actually measure the results pretty much in real time. So again, you only get charged when people click on your ad.
Quick question, Brian.
Yeah,
if
sure.
you mind, we have a question from D in one of the comments that wasn't showing up here in the chat, but it was about any guidance on how much you should invest in monthly ads as you're getting started once your book is already published. You may be covering that here, but just kind of curious, budgeting wise, once you're already launched, what would you recommend to start out with?
Yeah. So I would recommend the minimum to start with, I would say $10 a day. And there's a reason for that, because if you think you are paying in this range, these days, this range is pretty much, mid kind of a mid type of bid. So it's not low, it's not high, it's an average amount. If you're bidding this much and you have a $10 a day budget, you can understand that if 2 people click, you've already spent $1. Mm-hmm. So you won't be getting an enormous amount of clicks per day. And what you really need are clicks. And we're going to get into that in just a bit. So yes, $10 is good to start out and to see. You can get a good idea with $10, but ideally I would increase it a little bit. Of course, you can only and you should only increase when you're sure that what you're doing has a positive ROI. So there's no real risk in increasing the bid, because you should do it when you know it's working. I think $10 to start with is a conservative, but at the same time, good amount to invest. Okay. Metrics. What should your KPIs be? So what are you looking for? And this is basically sequential. So the first thing you need to look at are the impressions. So is your ad showing? An impression is, I'm sure you know, each time somebody sees the ad counts as 1 impression. So you need to have enough impressions to produce the second KPI, which is the clicks. Generally, a good ratio is 1 click per 1,000 impressions. And that might seem like a lot of impressions, but you could get 3,000 or 4,000 every single day. So 1 click per 1,000 is not, fantastic, but it is acceptable. That's the general click-through rate. So impressions first, clicks, and also you should be looking at cost per click, of course, because this is the level 2 analysis. So if I am paying 62 cents for a click, but I'm only getting 30 cents in royalties for each book sold, then I need to make my calculation as well. And this will be explained in a little bit, and also the reason why your number one goal when you launch shouldn't be ROI. Sales, of course, and this is what I said, you should really know your numbers. And this is where a lot of people make a mistake. So they, especially with nonfiction business books, you put a book up on Amazon, you launch it, you've got ads running, but you look at the dashboard and the ad is not profitable. So a lot of people say, no, this Amazon ads things isn't working. But then at the same time, those ads brought you in 2 clients and you are charging them $300 a month each client. So are the ads profitable or not? So my point is you really need to know your numbers and don't base your judgment, especially with nonfiction, on the ads dashboard alone, because that's absolutely not the full story. And also, if you only have one book, this is a minimum section, but don't forget, you also have page reads, which are not factored in the dashboard. Again, how do I win? It's not easy. There's a lot of competition, and these days it's a marathon rather than a sprint. And this is why I recommend starting them at the end of your launch rather than during the launch. When you want a lot of traffic immediately, there's better ways than Amazon ads. Again, what is your goal and what would winning mean for you? So if you're only after exposure, impressions are free, absolutely free. So you could be running ads at a loss, at face value, but then you'll be bringing in loads of clients because your book could be seen millions of times every day, and the impressions are free. You wouldn't pay a dime unless people click on it, obviously. But also remember that Amazon's number one goals are conversions on the one hand, and customer experience, user experience, and satisfaction. So this is the real reason why, on the one hand, I recommend starting the ads at the end of the launch, but also it's best to start ads when the book is selling a little bit already, because it goes back to what I said. Amazon is looking at conversions and it's looking at customer satisfaction. If they have no history of that happening, advertising is going to be hard. And also relevance is king. So many suggest having ads with thousands upon thousands of keywords. You can upload up to 1,000 keywords per ad, but this doesn't work anymore because we go back to number one. It's a constant game of testing and tweaking. If we have too many keywords, and especially it's a low budget, we won't have enough data to make, meaningful decisions. So it's best to start with a lower number of keywords and getting those to work well rather than, spreading yourself too thin.
Do you have a kind of an estimate of what a good number of keywords are?
Yes, I normally start with around 50. Okay. And this is, you can add them, you can remove them anytime you want. So it's not a fixed number. I just start like that because I want to get enough impressions in the keywords to make a decision. And then, of course, like we said, sales of your book alone are not the be-all, end-all. I just wanted to give you a little pros and cons of Amazon ads. We'll start with the cons first. Amazon ads require patience. We know that. And it's also difficult to make a positive ROI if your only product is the book. So again, you need to have something on the back end. If you are writing a book for exposure. It might be very competitive depending on your niche market. So if you're writing a book on Amazon, on Facebook ads, you might be paying $1 per click, and that is a lot. But again, it goes back to knowing your numbers. If that is fine with you because you have other ways of making a positive ROI, then this isn't really a con, it's a pro. The pros, it's easy to get started right away. Like we said at the beginning, the customers are already looking for books, so they are actively want to be suggested other books. And once you get the reader's interest, Amazon is great at converting because you might not get the sale at that moment, but Amazon might send an email to that customer in 2 or 3 days reminding them. They might put the book in the cart, but they might not buy right away. Amazon has a million ways of reminding you about something you've checked out. You don't need graphics, creatives, and all of that. And when you reach the sweet spot, it's really, really good. And it's really, really scalable. Not easy, but it scales almost infinitely. So I hope this was helpful. Again, this is my agency's website, bookads.co. And you can find me on every button that's on that website. So if you fill in the form, it gets to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and also now if you have any.
Yeah, any questions, guys? Thank you so much for.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. That was awesome.
Problem.
Yeah. Guys, if you have any questions here for Brian right now, drop them in the chat while we're still live. We got a few minutes here to kind of answer anything.
Yeah, at the end. Anything at all apart from the Vatican, the contents of the Vatican.
But yeah, if anybody here is interested in chatting with Brian more after this, seeing what it looks like to work together, Brian has put together a special pricing for people that are members of the AI Author Cookbook. So if you guys do connect with Brian, let him know that you were a member. And if you're not a member, you should subscribe. We're doing a Founders Members launch right now. Head over to the AIauthor.com. Get your membership.
There's only 3 days left on that.
Yeah, 3 days left on the initial early bird pricing. And that's going to basically be like the hub for us bringing like this type of content and more for all of you authors here at the Future of Publishing with Artificial Intelligence. And writing the book is just one monumental step. Now, how do we market it? And what we just saw here from Brian is a great example of, the next phase in getting your message out there, growing your business and your brand. So, thank you so much again, Brian. Super educational.
This is great. I really like the part where, you talk about the 30 days from upload to launch and really kind of getting it in. I mean, a lot of times people push back their launch, or they want to add stuff at the end of their book. And we've seen that really destroy, not to, interfere with book launches. So
yeah, it's something that isn't really confirmed, but it works every single time. So it's pretty much obvious by now. And yeah, it does actually get a little bit less after 60 days, and after 90 days, you're starting. The hill is very steep to climb after 90 days. Wow. Yeah.
Good. Well, we're not seeing any questions come in, but reach out to Brian, guys, if you want to, more info on or want to work with Brian. And thank you again so much, Brian, for being here today.
Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Till next time.
Good one.